Sorry.
There we go.
Kim, can you be letting people in?
I am.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, hey, welcome, guys. We've got a special treat today, as you know. I know, hopefully you saw the announcement, but we've got Shon Kokoszka with us here. He's visiting right out of San Diego. Where do you live? You're in Austin now, though, Shon, right?
Yeah, that's where my home is. In Austin.
Okay.
We've got
Yeah.
a second home out here on Mission Beach in San Diego. I'll show you guys my view.
Look at the view.
It's not so bad.
Not so bad. That's a nice place for a second home, I'd say, Shon.
It doesn't suck. We get out here as much as we possibly can.
That's awesome. So if those of you, if you're not familiar with Shon Kokoszka, let me just tell you a little bit about him. So Shon's been in the real estate game for, 20, 25 years. He and his team were 32 years. Okay, you were a child. But they were selling about 250 to 400 homes a year. So you guys are in the right place if you want to come learn from the master that he is. He has sold over 4,000 homes, totaling over $1 billion in sales. But in addition to that, now he's got Icon Coaching. He also did all the training materials and the curriculum for the #1 bestseller that was on the New York Times and in the Wall Street Journal, the #1 best-selling book, The One Thing. If you haven't read The One Thing, I'd highly encourage you to read that. So he did all the training curriculum for that. So we are super honored, Shon, to have you here. And, we all know we're in the shifting market. If you don't know, you're going to know soon enough because we're all seeing, many, many areas across the country, we're seeing a shifting market. And Shon, 32 years in the business, he's been through it all. He's trained through it all. His team, how to maneuver through that. So we were having a little bit of conversation about what to train on today. And, Shon suggested, I agreed that, for sale by owners, expired. So for sale by owners has always been around, but expires, most of us haven't seen in the last couple of years, right? But we're going to start seeing that again, and so Shon is the master at so many things really, but he's so great at scripts and training. And so we're just honored to have you here, Shon, to train us today on for sale by owners and expires and just, what to do during this transition in market for agents, that weren't around back 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah. Well, Kathy, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. And welcome. Just a real quick question. How many of you guys are starting to experience a lengthening of the number of days on market with your listings? Anyone? All right. Anybody else experiencing a reduction of the average list price to sales price ratio? Anybody experiencing that? Yeah, so the market is shifting. There's no doubt about that. And I think the #1 challenge that we all face today is that anybody who had 2 brain cells over the course of the last 3 years refinanced and probably locked in a rate somewhere around 3%. So if they sell this house, then they're going to go buy another. If they need a mortgage, well, then they're going to step up to 6.25%, right? Now, when I got into the industry, interest rates were 12.75%. And when they hit 7%, you guys, we were all celebrating. We're like, oh my God, it's amazing. Never experienced interest rates this low. And yet here we are at 6.25%. People are whining, complaining, griping about what's going on. So there's certain segments in the market that are going to be coming back. No doubt about that. Notice of default. How many of you guys work in notice of default lists? Anyone? Good. Cheryl, I saw your hand went up. Fantastic. Now, I would encourage you guys to see everything starts with list building. Would you all agree with that? I mean, if you don't know who you're going to call, you're not going to call anybody. So I'd encourage you to reach out to LandVoice. In fact, if you go to landvoice.com/SOAR, SOAR, you'll be able to get 30 days of their pro level of data for just $30. So this is a trial run. See if you like this. But what they're going to do, they're going to provide you with all the lists that you need to call. They'll give you every for sale by owner, their email address, their phone number, their address, every expired listing. You're going to have it by 7 a.m. the following day after it expires. So if it expired at midnight last night, you'd have the list right now and be able to contact these expired listings. Plus, they'll give you the notice of default list. So anybody who hits the NOD, they're going to give you the name, the phone number, email address, and address of the person. So everything starts with list building. Oh, by the way, they'll give you neighborhood data for circle prospecting as well. So today we're going to talk a little bit about for sale by owners. How many of you guys excited to call it for sale by owners? Anyone? I am. Now, let me tell you the reason. These people have already raised their hand. They said that they would like to sell this property. No doubt about that. Let me get rid of this background noise. Sorry about this, guys. There we go. All right. So they've already raised their hand. They are motivated to do something in real estate. They just don't want to pay a commission. Now it's up to you to convince them that maybe that's not the best way to go about it. So to me, for sale by FSBO, it's an acronym, stands for fastest source of business opportunity. Okay, there was never a year that I didn't list and sell at least 50% for sale by owners in my career. For sale by owners were my bread and butter. And I want to explain a little bit about how to work with them. See, for sale by owners will never set a listing presentation with you. They just won't. Now, unless they're just fed up with the whole process and they said to their significant other, you know what, I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of staying home on the weekends and showing our house and taking call after call after call. And the next realtor who calls me, we're going to list our property with them. They're never going to set a listing presentation with you, right? Now, it does happen, but it's very rare. So it's not a listing presentation game. It's actually a problem presentation. Now, setting an appointment to meet with a for sale by owner is probably one of the easier things that you'll ever do. I mean, all you have to do is just simply contact them and ask them, can I preview your property, compare your features and benefits to the needs of my buyers? It's easy to get in the door. It truly is. But once you get in the door, what you say and how you say it makes all the difference. And really, there's only three things in which we can control in real estate sales. Seriously, only three. Think about all the things outside of your control. You can't control the buyer's credit score, their cash position, the inventory in the market, the interest rates, the seller's motivation, the location of the property. You can't control any of these things. Three things in which you can control. Number one, it's what you say. Number two, it's how you say it. And with mere words, you guys, in real estate, you can make over $1 million a year selling real estate. And the third thing, which is the most critical element, is you can control how many people you say it to. So again, the three things, you can control what you say, how you say it, and how many people you say it to. Now, how many of you guys want more appointments? Anyone? Yeah, of course, we all do, right? We all want more appointments. Now, in order to have more appointments, all you need to do is create more conversations. And I hate to make it so simple. Yeah, how many of you guys want more contracts? We all want more contracts, right? So in order to have more contracts, you need more appointments. And in order to have more appointments, you just need to create more conversations. If you want more money in your bank account balance, and I'm certain you all do, right? Well, you need more contracts, which means you need more appointments. So let's reverse engineer it down to the one thing in which you can control, and that's how many people you talk with. That's it, just creating more conversations, gang. That is the secret sauce to real estate sales. Now, here's the good news. Lead generation can effectively be leveraged. The bad news is you probably should master it first so that you can train somebody up to make it happen for you. What I'm talking about is ISAs, OSAs. Now, ISA, inside sales associate. OSA, outbound sales associate. Somebody who's going to get on the phones and proactively lead generate on your behalf to set more listing appointments. And we're talking about for sale by owners. And I want to walk you through the psychology of listing for sale by owners, because there is a psychology behind it. So if you choose to, go ahead and draw out this diagram here, this box, the 4 boxes. And in the upper left-hand corner, I want you to write in the words positive present. And what I'm referencing here is their mindset. So again, every for sale by owner is in fact in a positive present mindset. They believe that their current actions with their plastic sign that they bought at Lowe's, and they got the Sharpie and wrote their phone number in on it, with the color brochure that they created, the ad that they have on Zillow, FSBO.com, Craigslist. They believe that their current actions are going to bring them to the positive future that they seek, which is selling their house without paying any commission. Now, here's one of the greatest challenges in working with for sale by owners, and I see realtors do this all the time. They say, well, I understand you want to sell your house all on your own. Yet if you list with me, I'll get it done faster, I'll put more money in your pocket, and gang, that is positive present to positive future. Now, this is not how we change people's minds. In fact, let's just put an X over that, because we can't go that direction. In fact, what we have to do is bring them and kind of pull them down into the negative to go from a positive present mindset to open the window of doubt that perhaps their current actions are not going to lead them to the positive future that they seek. Now, once we get them firmly rooted in a negative present mindset, then it's about pushing them to a negative future. So we've all heard the phrase, you got to meet people where they're at, right? And I grabbed a hold of that phrase. I mean, it made total sense to me. Yet here's what I found. Most people, they have no idea where they're at. So how can you meet them there? So what you've got to do is you've got to kind of guide them to where you want them to be and then lead them to where you want them to go. And once we get them to this negative future mindset, then it's all about the positive future, which is listing with you. So you reach out to the for sale by owner. You set an appointment to get in the door. You're going to tour the property with the for sale by owner, and you're going to take great notes. You're going to ask questions. You're going to compliment them. You're going to focus on building rapport. And once you believe that you're in this position of rapport, then I'd encourage you to leverage a script that I call the single greatest advantage. Now, I learned this from a guy named Jerry Bresser. He wrote a book back in 1974 called List More, Sell More. And the principles apply today, just like they did in 1974. And the single greatest advantage script is very simple. So you're in rapport with the FSBO, and you say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. For Sale by Owner, let me just ask you a question. What is the single greatest advantage of you going for sale by owner instead of listing with a realtor? Now you guys already know the answer. It's to what? It's to save the commission. So you say, well, I understand that. Yet let me ask, what is the single greatest advantage for a buyer to buy a for sale by owner instead of working with a professional realtor? Is it possibly to save the same commission that you hope to save? So again, guys, it's about moving them to that negative present, right? So we're starting to open that window of doubt in their mind. Then we're going to segue into the next script that I call the 4 types of buyers. Now, this is being recorded. I've got this fully transcribed. It's part of our program called Accelerated Breakthrough. It's in session number 4. Yet, let me walk you through the 4 types of buyers. So you just segue very naturally, and you say, well, Mr. and Mrs. For Sale by Owner, would it be okay with you if I shared with you the 4 different types of buyers? I think it'll be beneficial. Well, the first is the first-time home buyers. Then there's the motivated buyers. There's the investors, and then what I like to call looking to lose, okay? So let's talk about for sale by owners. Now these people are, let's talk about first-time home buyers, These people are nervous, they're anxious, they're timid, they're stressed out, they don't want to make a mistake. Let me just ask, do you think they're going to go out all on their own, call in for sale by owners, one at a time, unrepresented, to write and negotiate their own contract, or do you think they might go to a professional realtor? You know, somebody who's done this 4,000 times in his career. Probably a realtor. Would you agree? Okay, the second type is motivated buyers, and we all want these guys, right? Their home just went under contract. They got 2 days to find their replacement. And if they don't, they might lose the contract. Or maybe they're a relocation buyer. Their employer flew them in just for the weekend, and then they got to go till they find the right house. Let me just ask, do you think they're going to go out, one at a time, calling on for sale by owners? Or do you think they might go to a professional realtor, somebody who can show 30 homes a day if necessary, until they find the right one? And it's probably a realtor. Would you agree? So the third type are investors. Now, I don't know about you guys yet. I've attended real estate investor seminars where the speakers train investors how to prey upon for sale by owners. They'll say things like, well, if I can close by the end of the month, will you come down in your price? Or what if I paid all cash? How low would you go? And the fourth type, well, I call them looky loos. For some crazy reason, HGTV is just not enough for these people. They have no intention to buy, but they just love looking at real estate. They'll say things like, well, let me sleep on it, I'll call you tomorrow. Or let me talk with my lender and I'll get back to you. And never hear from them. See, out of the 4 different types of buyers, there's really only one type that buy for sale by owners, and that's investors. And yes, investors are great, yet they want to buy your home for 10 cents on the dollar. I look at it like this. If you walked into a jewelry store, let's say you wanted to buy a new watch. You can see it there in the glass case. Never been worn. It's still in the box, right? It's got the price tag right there on it. I'll bet you'd expect to pay a retail value. Would you agree with that? Or yet, let's take that same watch. Let's take the receipt that shows the amount of money you paid for that watch. Let's tape it to the top of the box. Never been worn. Price tag still on it. And let's put it in a garage sale. Now, undoubtedly, you would expect to fetch far less than a jewelry store because anytime we buy direct from an owner, we just expect a better deal. going to shift them again from the negative present to a negative future. And it's a really simple statement. You just share the NAR statistics. National Association of Realtors states that for sale by owners receive 12% less than those that list with a professional realtor. And then the closest group, essentially, you're familiar with what I do to get properties sold quickly for top.
Still required?
So again, it's about that positive future. So what you've done is you've converted this pop by to for sale by owner to tour their property and compare the features and benefits of their home to the needs of new buyers. You've converted that into a listing opportunity. So you say, well, no. And so you say, well, luckily I'm here. Remember the psychology of the sale, positive present to negative present. Once you get them to a negative present, then it's about negative future then to positive future, which is listing with you. All right, so I've got all of those scripts totally transcribed. They're there for you to practice, rehearse, and I'll tell you what, practice is one of the most important aspects of our job. And a lot of people, they look at their practice time kind of like playtime. Yeah, I'll do that when I have time, or I'll do it when I think about it. No, I want you to be on purpose with this. In fact, I hired a guy named Billy McLaughlin to come out and do a presentation or a show, I should say, for a little program that we put together called Mega Camp for Keller Williams. And we'd have thousands and thousands of agents in the office. Now, Billy McLaughlin, he was a guitar player, and yet in his early 20s, okay, so he poured himself into learning how to play the guitar at a very high level since he was just a kid. Yet he had this crippling disease. He couldn't hold a pick any longer. So what did he do? He learned how to play the guitar with one hand. Now think about this. Anybody who has an experience with playing guitar, you recognize that if you press your finger down on electric guitar, right? You press your finger down on the string, right on the fret, in the right spot, it makes the sound as though you strummed the string, right? So he learned how to play the guitar with only his left hand. And sure, he would reach over with his finger and he'd hit a few strings at the same time, but man, it sounded like he was playing the guitar with 12 hands, not just one. Amazing. So after the fact, I interviewed him and I said, so Billy, tell me, do you love your work? He said, no, honestly, I can't stand my work. I said, well, it looked like you were having fun up in front of all of us. He said, oh, no, you don't understand. This is my playtime. My work is when I'm practicing for hours and hours until my fingers bleed, until I can get this right. My work is loading up my van with one hand to get out to the venues, to drive clear across town. I can't stand my work. I love my playing. So we look at that as it relates to a real estate agent. See, your work is to practice your skill, to know what to say, to know how to say it, right? Your playtime is when you're actually in front of a prospect, soon to be a client and a commission check. And that's what we all want, no doubt about that. So any questions, concerns, challenges about maybe what we've talked about so far? What are your key takeaways? Talk to me.
Shon, can I ask you what would you say, like just that initial phone call? You get the list from Land Voice or whatever you're using. Here's the list of FSBOs, whatever I want to call them. And there are agents that focus on that. So all of a sudden you call that FSBO, and they've had you're the eighth person that's called.
Yeah.
Great
question, Jeff.
What's the best script, like the best way to get in the door? What would you say?
I've got 6 different lead-in scripts that will allow you to set appointments with for sale by owners. I'll share one with you today. And this is a term that I coined, pause momentum. Pause momentum. Now, the challenge in calling for sale by owners, and I know it just like you do, is the moment they know you're a realtor, what do they want to do? They want to end the call, right? As quickly as possible. And so here's the challenge. A lot of people, they want to call it for sale by owner. They'll say something like, hi, this is Shon Kokoszka with eXp Realty, and they pause, they take a breath, and what does the FSBO do? I'm not paying a commission, click, right? You didn't even get a chance to get the words out of your mouth. You have no opportunity to display your value proposition. So I came up with this scripting or this, and let me back up. See, 55% of our ability to connect with people and truly influence them, it's based on body language. So it's nonverbal. Now you're on the telephone, so 55% of your ability to connect with these people, it's out the window. Now, 38% of our ability to connect with them and truly influence them is based on our tonality, our inflections, our rate of speech, and our use of pause. Okay? And 7% of our ability to connect with people is the words that we use. Now, I place an extreme emphasis on the words that we use because I believe that words create energy and emotion. You all go with me on this, right? So I came up with this term, I call it pause momentum, because it enables you as a teleprospector to get the words out of your mouth that need to be said and heard. So pay attention and see if you, let's just say you're a for sale by owner and you want to interrupt me and say, I'm not paying a commission, yet when I pause, you'll find that it would be completely inappropriate for you to interrupt me, right? And that's what pause momentum does for us. So it'd be something like, may I speak with Mr. Jones, please? Hi, Mr. Jones. This is Shon Kokoszka with eXp Realty, and I'm sure that you've had several realtors calling trying to list your home. I'm not calling for that purpose. You see, I'm a buyer specialist, meaning 70% of my time is invested working with buyers. So let me ask, once you sell your home, all on your own, without paying a commission, let me just ask, where do you plan on moving to? So it enables you to kind of get the words out of your mouth that you choose to say, and it would be inappropriate for them to interrupt you at certain times.
Yeah.
So here's another version of that. Let's say you're a buyer specialist on the team. You'd call up and say, may I speak to Mr. Jones, please? Hi, Mr. Jones. This is Shon Kokoszka with eXp Realty, and I'm sure you've had several realtors trying to list your home for sale. I'm not calling for that purpose. You see, I'm a buyer specialist, meaning all I do is work with buyers. In fact, 100% of my time is spent working with buyers. So tell me, once you sell your home all on your own without paying a commission, where do you plan on moving to? You got to get the words out of your mouth, right?
It's really good.
So most for sale by owners are going to stay local to the market. They might be empty nesters, downsizing. They might be in a move up situation. So they're going to sell a $500,000 home and buy $1 million home. Yet this is your opportunity to earn their business on the buy side of the fence. So they say, well, we're looking to move up north. We're looking to downsize, whatever they say. That's fantastic. I'd like to simply set an appointment to preview your home. See, I've got many buyers that I work with. I'd like to compare the features and benefits of your property to the needs of my buyers. I mean, perhaps I can make a fit. By the way, if I were to bring you an offer from one of my buyers through my company, would you accept that offer from my company? So, oh, I'm not going to pay any commission. Well, let me just rephrase that. If I were to bring you an offer from one of my buyers that's acceptable to you, would you accept that offer through my company? Now notice I'm not changing the words, I'm just emphasizing acceptable to you, right? Meaning the buyer might pay the commission, we might go over the request price to cover the cost of the commission, yet would you accept the offer through my company? Say, yeah, well, perfect. What is the best time for me to stop by and just preview your property? Is it weekdays or weekends?
That's awesome.
Setting the appointment for sale by owner, guys, that's the easiest thing you'll ever do. It truly is. I mean, you'll set an appointment 80% of the time. Now remember, 7% of our ability to influence them is the words that we use, right? I think it's more just the energy, the enthusiasm that's going to get you in the door. Once you're in the door, you preview the property with them, take great notes, ask great questions, focus on building rapport, compliment them. And once you're in rapport, it's those 4 scripts, right? Single greatest advantage, 4 different types of buyers, the jewelry store watch script, share the NAR statistics. Oh, and by the way, are you familiar with what I do to get homes sold quickly for top dollar? Well, luckily I'm here. And you've just converted it, a pop buy, into a listing opportunity. You guys with me on this? Now, there are other strategies out there. Like speaking to John Mendelson, we're going to be doing a webinar together here in just a couple of weeks on for sale by owners and expired listings. Now, John made a career out of for sale by owners and expired, and he's got some unique philosophies that I want to bring to light to all of you. I mean, it's a free webinar. All you have to do is go to iconcoaching.com, go to events, and you'll be able to register for this upcoming webinar. One of the strategies he used was, okay, for sale by owner, I know that you're planning to sell your home without paying commission, yet why not take advantage of the best of both worlds? Meaning, I'll put it in MLS for you. I'll go through all the process of marketing and everything else. And if you sell your home, if you identify the buyer, well, you don't have to pay me a darn thing. Yet if I bring you the offer, well, here's what the commission structure would look like. So it enables you to keep your ad on for salebanner.com. Keep your ad on Zillow. It doesn't much matter. Yet if I bring you the offer that's acceptable to you, you pay this commission to me, this commission to the buyer's agent. What are your thoughts? Now we know that pre-COVID, 83% of for sale banners ultimately listed with a real estate professional. Those days are coming back. Remember, FSBO, it's an acronym. Fastest source of business opportunity. Now, expired listings. Let's talk a little bit about expireds. Again, there's only one reason that a listing expires. What do you suppose that is? That's right. It's overpriced, right? You say, no, it's the location. No, I've sold homes that backed up to 8-lane highways, guys, with 50 decibels of noise in the backyard. You couldn't even have a conversation in the backyard, let alone want to go out there. Yet we were able to sell those properties because we priced them appropriately. So I can't tell you how many expired listings that I took that I asked the seller, I said, how many times did your agent ask you to improve the price? Now the agent had listed for 6 months. And the seller would say, no, they never asked me to improve the price. In fact, I even called the agent and said, should we adjust the price? And the agent talked them out of adjusting the price. Why do you suppose that is? See, I think it's because the agent told them, this is the price that I can sell it for you, right? And so they were embarrassed. They didn't want their ego to be bruised at all by asking them for a price improvement. And by the way, we never say price reduction. It's price improvement. We're going to improve the price, right? All right, so there are 5 common objections when doing expired calling. In Accelerated Breakthrough, we've got like 4 or 5 different lead-in scripts that are to set the appointment for you. Yet there are 5 common objections that practice these, rehearse these. Guys, you'll overcome those objections. Get the appointment, take the listing. That's what we all want, right? So what questions do you have about expireds, notice of default, for sale by owners, circle prospecting? In fact, let's just open it up to kind of a mastermind, if you will, a little bit of a brainstorm here. I believe that the smart people, they learn from their own mistakes. You guys with me? I mean, as Brian Bear said, when you make a mistake, only 3 things you should do. Number 1, admit it, meaning you got to own your mistakes, right? Number 2, learn from it. And number 3, never repeat it, right? See, this requires us to adopt maybe a different kind of a mindset where most realtors that I know, they're into fixing things, right? I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna fix that, I'm gonna put out this fire and that fire. They feel more like a firefighter than they do a professional. How many of you guys ever felt like a firefighter in real estate? Anyone? I mean, you're putting out fires left and right, left, and it's one thing after the next, after the next. See, one thing I love about real estate is that it's a very calm, relaxing, and predictable business, right? Yeah, that's a joke. It's nowhere close. So the new mindset that I think we must adopt is not a fix mindset. It's about fix, prevent, prevent, prevent. See, anytime you have a frustration in your business, just recognize it's not you, it's not your prospects, it's not your clients, your team, your vendors, none of that. It's simply the lack of a system. So when something happens, it's a frustration. You either sit down or pull your team together and say, okay, this happened. Yes, it's frustrating. I'm not into blaming or complaining or anything like that. No victim mentality. I recognize it's simply the lack of a system. So what can I do? What can we do to make sure that this frustration never, ever comes up again? What is the system that is required? So when we restate our frustrations in the form of a system, this is how great businesses are built. Now, there's 4 key categories of leverage, okay, gang? Number 1, it's models. So I'm talking about your economic model, your budgeting model, lead generation and lead conversion models, and if you choose to leverage through people, your compensation models as well. And those of you that are focused on building a team, hey there. Yeah. I can come let you in. And in fact, call Bella. Sorry, guys. Can you call Mary Bella? She is. All right, sorry about that. My mother owns a house right down Mission Beach from us here, and she just took the walk over to bring coffee or something. I'm not sure. But how many of you guys know Diana Kokoszka? Know of her, heard of her? Yeah, so we wrote the Bold training program together at Keller Williams. Guys, over 700,000 graduates to that program, arguably the best real estate training program that's ever been created. Now, with that said, I created Accelerated Breakthrough to really compete with that Bold program, right? And we've had thousands and thousands of graduates of Accelerated Breakthrough. It's life-changing, you guys. Individuals who engage in that program and actually do the work are literally doubling, tripling, quadrupling their production. I see some familiar faces on here. People that have been through that program. It's fantastic. All right, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but systems, you guys. So we're talking about leverage. Talking about leverage, right? So models is first. Second to that is systems. Now, a system to me is a standardized process that produces a consistent and predictable result. You do it the same way each and every time to get that consistent, predictable result within your business. The third category is technology. So many of you are leveraging through KV Core, maybe you're on the Sync platform, a follow-up boss, or whatever you're on. The best CRM on the face of the planet is the one you know how to use, right? And then the fourth category of leverage is people. Now, I'd encourage you to think in terms of 3 words. And Kathy, how much time do we have today?
You have about 30 more minutes.
Oh, fantastic. More than I thought. Good stuff. So 3 powerful words that I'd encourage you to leverage daily. Okay, it's who, not you. Who, not you. It's also who, not how, right? Who, not how. See, when I think of doing something unique or different here at Icon Coaching, maybe I'm going to launch a new program. Maybe I'm going to, like we're going to do the Texas tour, by the way, where we're going to hit every major market in Texas every 6 weeks with live events. See, anytime you think about doing something like that, I have to be honest with myself and say, Shon, you're only proficient at maybe 25% of the tactical work associated with that role. Now, I get to invest the time, the energy, the money, the resources to master the other 75%, yet Malcolm Gladwell will tell you that it takes 10,000 hours to master anything. I do know one thing for sure is that there is a who out there who understands the how. Somebody who's already got their 10,000 hours in place. All I have to do is find that person. See, once you get into business at a very high level and you focus on, scalability, you focus on increasing your net income, your net worth, you recognize that whatever business you're in, like for example, you're not a real estate agent, you're a recruiter. Simply put, you're a recruiter of talent. See, in the US, we already live a very highly leveraged life. Would you guys agree with that? All right, for example, how many of you guys are wearing a shirt today? Anyone? Good, I'm glad you are, right? Did you make that shirt? Of course you didn't make it, right? No, you paid a company who paid somebody who probably paid somebody who paid somebody to make that shirt. And it ended up on the rack at the store and you just bought it, right? So you've got to apply that type of thinking to your business development. I don't care if it's real estate sales, if it's agent attraction. Guys, it's who, not you. It's who, not you. So let me, I'm going to open up I'm just going to share my screen here momentarily. Yet I want to walk you through this model that I call the model toward mastery. Bear with me 1 second. It's there. Here we go. Now, if you choose to draw this out, it's going to end up in the shape of a pyramid. It'll have 5 sections of a pyramid. So if you want to draw a pyramid, just draw 4 horizontal lines down the middle, create 5 sections to this pyramid. I'd encourage you to write this out because it's a game changer from my perspective. So it starts with the word foundation. Okay. Now, foundation is our state of being. It's how we show up to the world, our clients, our prospects, our past clients, heck, even our friends and family members. And the 4 things that impact the strength and the depth and the width and the rebar that we have within our foundation. So knowledge, your skills, your mindset, your habits. So knowledge, in essence, you got to know what to do and you got to know what to say. Our skills, you got to know how to do it and how to say it. And like I said earlier, with mere words, when you know what to say, you know how to say it, and you say it to enough people, you can make millions of dollars in real estate sales. Now, when we focus on the first two key categories, knowledge and skills, it has an immediate impact on our competence. It leads to a higher level of confidence. It almost magically impacts the strength of our mindset. Now, I think 95% of our success in business is in fact mindset. You know, Henry Ford said it best so many years ago, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Yeah. And then the fourth category is our habits. Now, at the core of everything that we do, you guys, it's our habits. Researchers estimate that only 3% of the time are we actually functioning outside of habitual behavior. And yet, let's have an honest moment. Where do most people form habits? Is it consciously or subconsciously? Undoubtedly, it's mostly subconsciously. So part of what we do with the Accelerated Breakthrough Program and in our one-on-one coaching is we get you tuned in to the actions that are worth building habits around. Now, this is important, and I'm going to reference a quote from a guy named F.M. Alexander. He said it best. He said, "People do not decide their future, they decide their habits. And their habits decide their future." So bringing conscious awareness to the actions, the activities that are worth building habits around, I think is a critical element of extraordinary results. So when I think of this, and I'm going to digress, many of you have heard this story before, but I have to share it again because it's the biggest epiphany, the biggest, whatever you want to call it, aha, that I've ever received in my life. And I was really fortunate to get this at a very early age. I was 17 years old when this awareness kind of showed up. Now, little backstory, my wife and I are high school sweethearts. We met in the 7th grade, started dating when we were 16. Married at 21, first child at 28, 3 beautiful kids now, and getting ready to celebrate 30 years of marriage this coming September. So with that said, we're 17 years old. So Friday night, we decided we're going to go see a movie, and we invited her older sister. She's 4 years older than we were, and I agreed I would drive. So I pull up to the house to pick these guys up. I'd never met a boyfriend before, but he comes out of the house, and this dude, I got to tell you, he was built. I'm telling you, this guy had like biceps the size of my thighs. He had like 10% body fat, just totally shredded. He was a bodybuilder professional. I mean, he did competitions and everything else, right? He looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, I'm 17 years old, and I want to look like this guy. So I got to know him a little bit. His name's Paul. I said, "Hey, Paul, tell me, how often do you go to the gym?" And he said, "Well, every day." I said, "Even Sundays?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "How long's your workout?" I said, "Well, at least 2 hours." I said, 2 hours every day, Paul? I'm 17 years old, having a hard time getting to the gym 2-3 times a week, let alone every day for 2 hours. How do you do it? And he looked at me like I was crazy, you guys. And he said, and this was the aha, by the way. I said, "John, it's just something I do." Like, it's no big deal. See, what Paul has done is he took that activity of going to the gym and he brought it to the position of what I call automaticity. Meaning it's part of the self-image, his personal paradigm. This is who Paul is. This is what Paul does. And guess what? Paul gets to look the way Paul looks, right? So how about you? I mean, what is that activity in real estate sales that if you simply brought that to the position of automaticity or a habit, that your business could look amazing? Go ahead and unmute yourself. I want to hear from a few of you. What is that activity that's worth building a habit around for you?
For me, Sean, it would be on the follow-up side, getting the follow-up into a habit that I'm committed to do it when I say I'm going to do it.
That's fantastic. And it broke up a little bit on the end for me. Could you guys all hear that? So it's consistent lead and follow-up is what I heard. Is that right? Just doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it to earn the business of the prospect. No doubt about that. Yet one of the major reasons that people do not convert leads to high level is in fact lead follow-up. Now, Top Producer in coordination with 5 Street did a case study for all of us. Now, these are agents that are paying for these leads. Average cost per lead was about $7.50 per lead. And they were able to, through the app and the voice over IP, be able to track how many times the realtor attempted to reach a prospect, the lead that they paid for. How many times do you think that was on average? Yeah, It's 1.2 times on average. Then they threw the lead away. Now, thanks to the digital revolution, companies like Zillow and Realtor.com and your personal IDX websites, buyer and seller prospects can now self-identify way too early in the pipeline, right? So thanks to the digital marketing revolution, there's now two distinct phases. Number one is what I call the dreaming phase, right? This is generally when leads kind of self-identify. They can't sleep one night, so they jump on Zillow and they complete a web form or whatever, right? And the realtor gets it, oh, I got a lead, and they're all excited. Well, it's not a prospect. It's barely even a suspect at this point because they're in the dreaming phase, right? They're just thinking about it. My wife and I, we sold our home last October, bought a new one, and then we talked about it for 3 years leading up to it, right? Seriously, she's all over Zillow. She's checking everything out. I got agents calling me on my cell phone saying, are you looking to buy? No, we're in the dreaming phase, right? Now, here's and by the way, the second category would be the buying or listing phase, right? So the biggest challenge is that if we ignore them when they're in the dreaming phase, okay, they're going to ignore us when they get to the buying or listing phase, right? So it's about consistent follow-up and nurturing and so on and so forth, because most of these prospects that come to you through digital marketing, they're B buyer prospects at best. So let's just identify and define what is an A buyer in your opinion. Now, I want to talk about the buyer side defense because that's going to become more and more important as the months go by. Yes. Right, for the last 3 years, you didn't want buyers. They were a pain in the butt. You know what I mean? You take them out, find the home, you'd write the offer, you'd go above the request price, and then you had to write 7 or 8 offers for each buyer, finally get them under contract or something, right? So for the last 3 years, we didn't want buyers yet. I think as the market shifts, I think we're going to want buyers, trust me. And when you systemize that side of the business, when the buyer side of your business becomes smooth and fluid and replicatable, it's simple, right? Like in session number 7 of Accelerated Breakthrough, I talk you through what I call the 20-point buyer presentation. Okay, this is a system. See, when I got into the real estate industry, I was probably one of the first buyer's agents on the face of the planet. The model didn't exist back then. Yet my mother and I, we decided we're going to start a real estate sales team together. We were 3 max. And within 12 months, I'd worked the buyer side of the fence and increased my production to over 100 buyer closings a year with one unlicensed assistant. And one of the big reasons for that is because of the system, the 20-point buyer presentation. See, I was the agent who would just run out the door and I would show you any house you wanted to see, right? I didn't qualify. I just said, how high when you said jump, you understand? And yet after being burned multiple times, wasting my time and spinning my wheels, I made a decision that I was going to systemize the side of the business. See, I read a book by a guy named Michael Gerber. It's called The E-Myth, The Myth of the Entrepreneur. I fell in love with the book. In fact, I, as a 21-year-old kid, spent $10,000 to fly out to San Diego and spent 3 days with Michael Gerber and got my E-Myth certification. I came back to the office on fire, man. I wanted to systemize everything. And this was an experiment that almost failed, quite frankly. It almost failed because in my efforts to systemize the buyer side of the business, I went through a lot of brain damage. See, I wasn't proficient at setting appointments to have buyers come into the office. So what I did is I developed and mastered a strategy that I called the ABCs of selling. It stands for action, benefit, commitment. I wasn't very good at that. I wasn't good at closing. I would ask questions like, well, would you like to get together? And they would say no. So rather, I had to up my game, right? And the end result, though, was multiple in-office buyer appointments every week, multiple signed buyer agency contracts every week, and as a 22-year-old kid, several $100,000 commission months as a direct result of just focusing on a system. Now, in session 7 of Accelerated Breakthrough, you get that system. You get all the digital assets. You get the PowerPoint slide deck. You get the buyer workbook. Excuse me, a full-length video of me showing you the buyer presentation. This can become really, really important in the coming months. You're going to actually want buyers, believe it or not. So it's a mindset shift, is it not? All right, let's go back to the ABCs. I want to spend a little bit of time on that. So when that magic moment for you to close for an appointment shows up, I would encourage you to leverage the ABCs. So you start with the action. What do you want this prospect to do? And in this case, let's set an appointment to meet at the office, or let's set an appointment to meet at your office, or Starbucks, or Regis, or your mortgage company's office, title company's office. Here's my input. I would love for you to focus on setting appointments in a professional environment whenever possible. See if you just run out and meet them at a house like I was doing when I first got into real estate. Their focus and their energy is not on you, is it? No, it's on the house. And it's really hard to do a buyer presentation and get a signed buyer agency contract when you're showing somebody a house, right? So I would encourage you to kind of back up a little bit. Let's up the professionalism of our game, and let's get them in a professional environment so they can focus on you and what you have to say. Because I'll tell you what, that 20 minutes you spend with the buyer before running out and showing them homes is going to save you hours and hours and hours in the field. You're going to be able to set and then manage the appropriate expectations with your buyers. And I think, you know, working the buy side of the fence is nothing more and nothing less than simply setting and managing appropriate expectations. You know, a very simple example of that is a typical agent. They're going to take a buyer out. Let's say it's a difficult buyer, and you show them 30 houses. They finally narrow it down. How many of you guys been there? Had to show them 30 houses? Anyone? They finally narrow it down to the one that they want to make an offer on, and what type of an offer do they generally want to make? It's a lowball offer, right? That you know is not going to be accepted, and you don't need practice writing contracts, do you? No, you want to write contracts that actually stick, yes? So whose fault is that, by the way? See, I think it's the agent's fault because they failed to set and then manage the appropriate expectations, yeah? Or how many of you have lost out on a commission because the buyer went behind your back and bought it for sale by owner? Anybody? Anyone other than me? Yeah, if it hasn't happened to you yet, you probably haven't been doing it long enough, or you've got the system in place to make sure that it never happens, right? But again, whose fault is that? See, realtors are constantly saying things like, oh, buyers are liars. That's not necessarily true. I think it's the realtor who failed to qualify the buyer, set and manage the appropriate expectations. Therefore, they accuse the buyer of being a liar because, of course, it could be their fault, right? Yet the 20-point buyer presentation came from that fix, prevent mindset that we're talking about. If I added up the lost commission dollars that it cost me to put this presentation together, you guys, it would be well into the 7 figures. See, every time I got burned or lost out on the commission, I just added another step. I added another script. I added something to this slide or that slide so that when I sat down with people, that I could give the presentation, and the natural byproduct is a signed buyer agency agreement. Okay, I will tell you that from first appointment to signed buyer agency agreement, for me was 100%. Every single time I got a signed buyer agency contract. Now, with that said, there were caveats. Sometimes if they weren't comfortable with it, I'd have to type it under special permissions that the buyer can terminate the agreement at any time. With just written notice given to me. Yet 100% of the time I got a signed buyer agency contract. So back to the ABCs. Action first, what do you want to do? Set an appointment to meet in a professional environment. Okay? Or you can even jump on a Zoom meeting. I mean, thanks to technology today, when I was back in production and Zoom were around, I probably wouldn't have had them come to the office. I would just have them, over Zoom. And then I would share my screen, I'd walk them through the buyer agency agreement, email it for e-signatures, and be done, right? Benefit. Why would a buyer prospect want to meet with you? What's in it for them? Talk to me, gang. Let's brainstorm this. What's in it for them? Why do they want to meet with you?
The ability to see a bunch of houses, to be guided, to help with the negotiation.
Go, Kelly. Absolutely. Let's keep it going. What are some other benefits? Why would a buyer want to meet with you? What's in it for them?
Open up, guys. Who wants to share?
In Alabama, we're a non-disclosure state, so I try to make it to where I can help you with your due diligence if, I've got a buyer's agency assigned.
Very good. So you're going to represent them through the due diligence to make sure that they're making a sound investment. It's fantastic. Way to go. Somebody else. What's in it for them? Why would they want to meet with you?
Vicki Trim said, I'm going to help you achieve your goals.
Fantastic, Kathy. Yes, I'm going to help you accomplish your goals in real estate sales. Okay, perfect. What else?
The seller's represented. I'm here to represent you. I'm here to fight
Gotcha.
for you.
Yes,
You know,
1000%. I'm with you. See, guys, there are multiple benefits, and it really depends on the prospect you're talking to. As a first-time buyer, because the benefit for a first-time buyer is going to be different than a seasoned investor. Is with me, yeah. Multiple benefits. How do you have access to off-market opportunities? Anyone? How about for sale by owners, expired listings? These are off-market opportunities, are they not? So after you articulate your benefit, then it's simply segue right into the commitment and its alternative choice, right? So tell me, when is the best time for you and I to get together? Is it weekdays or weekends? So let me demonstrate real fast. Fortunately, in order to get one step closer to achieving your goals, all we need to do now is simply set an appointment for you to meet at my office. I'm going to download all the photos, the virtual tours, the floor plans, the drone footage. That way you can view them on screen in my office before wasting your time or gas and driving by them. Now, additionally, I'm going to share with you several off-market opportunities. These are homes that are currently on the market that nobody knows about them, just me and my team. And I'd love to share that information with you. And then finally, I'm going to walk you through several key negotiating strategies that will help you get the best price on the home you buy. So tell me, when is the best time for you to get together with me? So weekdays or weekends? Action first. See, anytime you ask a prospect to do something, I mean anything, there's a question that appears within your mind, right? It's the old WIFM acronym, W-I-I-F-M, what's in it for me? So by outlining the benefit, you can answer that question, segue right into the alternative choice. Simple as ABC, yes. Practice that, master that. Nothing's going to stop you. You're going to set appointment after appointment after appointment, and get signed in by your agencies, listing contracts, left and right. Okay, so back to this model toward mastery. I just want to finish this thought before we run out of time. The next phase of this model is your pipeline phase. So it's everything that you're doing proactively, reactively to identify and earn the business and the prospects in the marketplace today. This also has to do with follow-up and conversion. And accelerated breakthrough, we walk you through our 7-step formula to the lead conversion conversation. Now, this is arguably the most effective script strategy that will help you double, triple, or quadruple your conversion rates. And if you increase your conversion rates by just 2%, let's say you're generating 100 leads a month, 2% increase in lead conversion, guys, that's 2 extra deals a month. That's 24 a year. If your average GCI per deal is 10 grand, that's almost $250,000 in additional revenue because you improved your knowledge and your skills. All right, so beyond the pipeline phase, and it takes tenacity, yet we'll get you there, is to the position of momentum. And momentum is one of my favorite words, you guys. To me, it's the greatest magnifier in the world, meaning when we lack momentum, we look 10 times worse than we actually are. And when we possess momentum, guess what? We get to look 10 times better. Now, a lot of agents, they get to this position of momentum. To me, that's 5 to 7 pending contracts. But what happens? They start focusing on the 80% work instead of 20% work. Now, I'm referencing Pareto's principle here, 80-20 rule. Now, in real estate sales, 20% of your actions and activities will yield at least 80% of the results. Yet sadly, I see most agents, they invest maybe 3 to 5% of their time into the 20% effort, and the rest of the time they put into the 80% work. The 80% work is all that stuff that needs to be done, but it doesn't move the needle for your production or your bank account balance. These things like transaction coordination, inspection negotiations, attending final walkthroughs, or meeting appraisers, or all that 80% stuff. See, to me, the goal is to leverage off the 80% stuff to give an inordinate amount of time to the 20% effort. There's just 5 things on that job description, you guys. Go ahead and write this down. Number 1 is practice to improve your knowledge and your skills, right? Number 2 is lead generation. Number 3 is lead follow-up, going on appointments and negotiating contracts. And those are the only 5 things that are going to move the needle for your production to increase your level of income. Now, a lot of agents, they get to the position of momentum, 5 to 7 pending contracts, and they get sucked down into the 80% stuff, don't they? They're holding the hand of the client. They're dealing with the inspectors and the contractors, the mortgage companies, the title companies, and what happens to the pipeline phase of their business when they get sucked down into the 80% work. Doesn't it generally dry up? Yeah, so they work hard to get to momentum just next month to fall back down to the pipeline. So January is terrible. They're thinking, I'm going to quit real estate sales. I can't stand this business anymore, right? I'm going to go get a real job. But they work hard in January. They get a few pending contracts. And then through the month of February, though, they get sucked down in the weeds, right? They're doing the transactional work. So January sucked, yet February is pretty awesome, right? They're thinking, I love real estate. I love being a realtor. But what happens in March? Oh, I'm going to quit. But then April's pretty darn good, right? And it's this cyclical level of production and income. It's a lot of stress, anxiety, worry. You guys said it's a short word burnout. So once you get to the position of momentum, it's about going to the position of leverage. As I said, there's 4 categories of leverage. Yes, you need to stay right up front. Okay. All right. Model systems, technology, and to finally reach this position of mastery. Yet to me, it's a lifetime journey. 10,000 hours. That's all it takes to master anything. That's it. Just 10,000 hours, right? It's a lifetime journey. Jeff, go ahead.
And this is, I just wanted to catch this before we need to go. Not to end the backtrack here, just real quick. Do you have what's a good script that you could give us for calling expireds? You had a great one there with the FSBOs. What's a good one that you would recommend for expireds? Because we are seeing more of those for sure.
Yeah, I've got 5 lead-in scripts that are all part of Accelerated Breakthrough. Yet, remember, 90% of anything, gang, is just showing up. Even a salesperson with a ton of skill, if they have enough conversations, you're going to set more appointments, right? So it'd be something simple like, hi, this is Shon Kokoszka with eXp Realty, and I'm calling to notify you that your home has been rejected by the market. It's been expired from the multiple listing service. And I'm curious, when do you plan on hiring the right agent to get your home sold?
Oh, that's good.
Just really simple, very direct, right? I don't like this beating around the bush or going in the side door. Just something very, very direct. Has some common phraseology that definitely helps is, me and my team, we specialize in working with expired listings. Sometimes even the best homes don't sell the first time around. It just takes a unique approach for marketing. Like my team uses to get homes sold quickly for top dollar. Tell me, when is the best time for you to get together with me? So weekdays or weekends. Just show up, close for the appointment. Guys, yes, people are going to say no, and that's okay. You're going to learn from the experience. Remember, fix, prevent, right?
Well, it goes back to what you really started with, and you've said a couple of times, Shon. It's really all about how many times do we say it.
That's right. And how many people you say it to, right?
Right. If you say it enough to enough people, you're going to generate the business that you want to generate. So that, yeah. So it's 11 o'clock. Shon, thank you so much. Before we finish, I put in the chat, guys, Shon, is a master, as you can tell, and he has created a lot of training programs in his career, and he has the Icon coaching program. I put the link in there. He has a 16-week accelerated breakthrough class that is all about, sales and all the scripts. He has in there his 20-point buyer presentation. He actually has in there a recording of him doing his buyer presentation with buyers so that you are hearing his word for word verbiage as he is going through his presentation. I took that course last year and it's phenomenal. So if you want to up your real estate game and really hone in your skills, I highly, highly recommend it. Like I said, I put the link in the chat. And then Shon, why don't you talk, you changed the format a little bit. So they get the workbook and then they can watch the video. Now they watch the weekly video of you doing your Icon coaching, and then they come on weekly with a mastermind with you to go over the content. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we have, so you watch the replays of the videos, and then every Tuesday afternoon at 2:00 Central, we do a 30-minute live coaching session where it's more of a mastermind where you get to ask questions based on where you're at in the program. So you could be in session 5 or you could be in session 15. Just keep showing up to the live weekly training. And we're just going to keep inspiring you and motivating you to get through the 16 weeks, to complete the assignments between sessions. And it's a game changer, guys. It will literally help you double, triple, quadruple.
Yeah,
And
I highly,
it's a one-time payment of just $350. It's just a no-brainer, right? It's a
yeah.
no-brainer. Let us
It's a
learn
complete
knowledge,
no-brainer.
skills, mindset, habits in this process, you guys. And I do have to jump to a coaching session right now, you guys. Thank you so much for your focus. your
Thank you,
energy,
Sean.
attention. Kathy, Jeff, thanks for putting this together. Kim,
Yep.
appreciate all you guys. Take care. Talk soon.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks,
My
Sean.
pleasure. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you, guys. Hey, real quick, guys, before you go, just a quick reminder. We do this every Tuesday. Okay. It's open to all agents, all companies. If you're a guest with us, thank you for being here. You're always welcome. If you want a recording of this, we will have that available here within the next hour or so. I'll try and get that. I'll definitely get it up on our workplace group, Freedom Team Workplace group. If you're outside of EXP and you want it, we can email it to you. Just a quick reminder, tomorrow, same time, Eric is going to be interviewing Brent Gove. And if you don't know Brent Gove, Brent was the number 11 Remax agent in the world. He ended up being the team leader at the biggest Keller Williams office in the country out in California for 8 years prior to moving over to EXP. He's got a huge organization at EXP, just and still doing just a ton of real estate. So anyway, we're gonna have a great talk with him for probably a good 45 minutes to an hour tomorrow. Same time, it's the same link that you're on right now, you're more than welcome to join in on that. Any of you, even guests, come on in. There'll be some great stuff. Brent's just on top of everything. So anyway, guys, Kathy, anything else you want to throw out there?
Nope, I was going to do the reminder. So
Okay, cool.
No, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week. If we can help you at all,
Great
let us know. We're here. Okay. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.